Team building isn't a one-time activity that you could just send your team on and come back with a perfect high-performing team. It's a habit. It's a set of norms of behavior that in this video, we're going to teach you how to shape. Hey leader, David Burkus here, organizational psychologist and author of 4 best-selling books on helping leaders and teams do their best work ever. And the future of that best work ever, the future of work, is teamwork. I mean, really, actually, the present of work is teamwork as well. For knowledge workers, but even for industrial workers, the vast majority of work that we do is done on teams. And that makes team building and making sure that team is skilled in collaboration, skilled in communication, and bonded and identifying as a team even more important. And this is where team building often comes into play. If you're watching this video, it's because you thought, yeah, team building might be the solution to my problem of getting the team to collaborate more. But here's the catch. Team building is not a one-time activity. You can't just send your team off to a ropes course or make them all take a personality test and suddenly after a discussion and a debrief, they work together better as a team. Team building isn't an activity, it's a habit. Team building is the regular set of norms and behaviors, the way that a team interacts with each other. In other words, the culture of the team. So in this episode, we're gonna talk about 4 ways you can build your team up by changing the habits of the team. The first team building exercise that really should happen on a regular basis is a team charter. Now, I sometimes call this a team charter or a working agreement, frequently unasked questions. One time I was working with a British company and I called it the Declaration of Interdependence, which they didn't think was funny, but I thought was hilarious. Anyway, the point is it doesn't matter what you call this. What a team charter is about is really actually putting to words the norms and behaviors that we commit to. On any team, there are taken for granted assumptions. There are what we would prefer to be the norms of communication that may not have ever been spoken out with the team and agreed upon. And a lot of conflict and miscommunication happens when someone acts in a different way than we expected, but never actually stated. So the purpose of a team charter, this is why frequently unasked questions work so well, is to list out all of those questions. Big questions like how do we want to give each other feedback and how do we want to ask for help? And also little questions like what's a reasonable amount of time to wait for a response to an email? When I work with teams and we develop one of these team charters, I start with that list of questions and then we go question by question and we come up with an answer that the team can live with. Not forever, but can live with for 30 or 60 days to guide our norms and our rules of the road, if you will. So we'll come up with an answer like 24 hours is a reasonable amount of time to wait before you email them again or before you call or text message them, 24 hours. Or we'll come up with an answer to the feedback question, as in when we're giving each other feedback, the first thing we agree to do is ask, would you like feedback on this and what type would you like, so that we know we're not getting into personal conflict. Right, you go question by question, you arrive at those answers, and then you lock that document. You get the team to agree, these are the norms for the next 30 to 60 days, and we're gonna commit to them. And at the end of 30 to 60 days, you circle back with that team and you answer really 2 questions. First, did we actually obey these rules? If we didn't, why not? That could be helpful feedback. And then if we did, how'd they work and what might we want to change? The idea here is that the real power of this for team building isn't the document itself. It's drafting the document and bringing the team back on a regular basis to discuss not our work, but how we work and make any tweaks and adjustments that are needed. The second exercise for team building that really should happen on a regular basis are failure funerals. Yeah, this is exactly what it sounds. And it sounds crazy when I heard it as well. But most teams respond to failure in a pretty negative or toxic way. You know, my dad used to tell this really lame sort of boomer joke that was that pretty much any corporation's coat of arms should probably be, in other words, everybody's trying to blame everyone else. And often on a team when failure happens, that's what happens. Everybody tries to blame everybody else. What a failure funeral is about is that when a project goes awry, and projects will go awry, they'll come in over budget, clients will decide to leave, things outside of our control will trigger a problem and will probably trigger the end of that project. When that happens, we take a couple minutes to have a period of mourning. This isn't a long thing. This is maybe a 30-minute meeting where we all get together and just mourn the loss of that project, mourn the loss of that client, mourn the closing of that project, and also share what we learned from that failure. So this does two things. Number one, it provides sort of a closing, it closes the door on that project and lets the team refocus on the other. But the second, and arguably more important, is that it gets the team used to discussing failures in a way where they take ownership and hence learn from that failure. It builds a sense of psychological safety on the team where we can talk openly about our role in failures and as a result, learn from them. Now, as I said, this happens on a regular basis. This would happen pretty much anytime your team fails. So this isn't a one-time activity, but when a project is over, when a project falls apart, when a client is lost, you might want to put a 30-minute invite on their calendar for a quick little wake, a quick failure funeral. And since a failure funeral sounds like a total downer, the third team building activity that is powerful when it happens on a regular basis would be a gratitude ritual. Some regular activity where on the team you are sharing gratitude to other people on the team every single day. Now, some companies have systems like this built in place where you can send kudos points or send little high fives, or I know there's a plugin in Slack where you can actually send someone a taco to tell them a good job. And that's great. We need that kind of regular micro feedback. But what a lot of these programs are missing is really the second element of expressing gratitude that makes for a powerful bond on teams. See, it's not just enough to say, thank you so much for doing this. What people need to hear in order to be reminded about their interdependence on the team, in order to build a connection to the team, is a follow-up. It allowed me to do that. So in other words, it's not just to say, great job, thank you, I appreciate you going above and beyond. It's that when you did this, it allowed me to do that, and that empowered me, and that's what I'm grateful for. So not only do you get the sort of warm fuzzies and the feeling of appreciation from getting on the receiving end of that gratitude, you also get a reminder of the team's interdependence, that your good work serves someone else on the team. And as a result, you build the team up with every single taco or thank you note sent. And the fourth and final, and arguably the most powerful team building ritual that you can do on a team on a regular basis is nothing. It's free time. It's finding time to do nothing at all. Finding time to just talk. You know, back in the day, we might have called this water cooler chat or office kitchenette chat. This is going out to lunch together on a regular basis. Or when you travel with the team, this is making sure we add an unstructured dinner where we're not discussing work. When people on a work team get together in unstructured time, they talk about non-work activities. And in doing that, they share their hobbies, they share habits, they share parts of their background, they share about their family or their friends or their travel history. And all of that sharing provides an opportunity for people to find what we call uncommon commonalities, things that one or two people on the team have in common with each other that are uncommon to the rest of the team. And it might sound counterintuitive that actually builds a broader team bond, but it's true. Giving people space to develop uncommon commonalities is what's going to seed friendships on the team, what's going to create an opportunity for stronger one-on-one bonds. And it turns out that one of the things that most explains people's engagement on a team and engagement in an entire company is how well they can answer in the affirmative to a statement like, I have a best friend at work. You want people to have a best friend on your team because that will help them be more engaged in not just that friendship relationship, but with the whole team. And friendships start with uncommon commonalities. Uncommon commonalities start with finding free time, which is why one of the most powerful things you can do to build a team is to, on a regular basis, do nothing at all. Now, as we already said, one of the keys here in all of these team building activities is that regular basis. You're gonna try one of these once, and you might be okay judging whether or not it worked, whether or not you felt like it really moved the needle, but you can't just try it once. If you felt like it moved the needle, we need to be doing it on a regular basis. If you felt like your team thought it was too cringe, etc., I'm not offended. That's why we gave you 4. But whichever one's working best for your team, commit to doing it on a regular basis, because this is not a one and done activity. First of all, you're gonna have different projects on your team, you're gonna have different people on your team, but this is also something that needs to happen on the regular in order to shape the norms and behaviors and the everyday interactions on your team. In order to shape your team's culture, you have to commit to doing this regularly, because team building is not a one-time activity. It's not an activity at all. It's a habit. And the goal of each of these exercises is just to help you shape that habit, grow that team culture, increase those bonds, and create a culture on your team where people can do their best work ever. Oh, and one more thing. We talked about trust on the team, building psychological safety on the team. And while we have one exercise on that, there's still more to be said about trust on a team. So if that's what you're struggling with and you want to build that up on your team, you're gonna want to check out this video here on how to build trust in teams. I trust you're gonna find a few more exercises you can do with your team if you watch that video.